This Kirblog's about a cool project on Super Mario World. Super Mario World, we made a collab. And I'm gonna stop right there. Welcome everybody. It's September now. My God, it's
time for September Fest.
Yes, and my God, it's a Mario filled week because we just off the heels of Casey and I were playing Mario 64 for Waptois this past weekend. And for those of you who don't know, we talked about this on the stream. And for those of you who don't know from just my plugging it around on various places, just recently the Super Mario World LUIGI Collab just released to YouTube. And I am joined by Senor Andrew Dickman. Say hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hi. Haven't had you on since the Pokemon Sun and Moon one that we did, like, in December.
That was, well, I think I was there because it was a spur of the moment sort of thing.
And I was like, fuck it, I'll toss you in there, whatever, I'll make you a Raichu. Well, basically, so originally what I wanted to do, well, wanted in quotation marks, mainly for the lulz, I wanted to do one this week about the Death Note Netflix movie, which I subjected Casey to a few nights ago. And do that one with Ben Diskin, but Ben is not getting home in time from a convention that he was at the day that this is going up, and I'm like, all right, I'll just save it for next week. But I put a little thing out there saying, hey, anybody got some last second Kirblog suggestions? And in fact, I'm even going to go back and find it. Somebody on Twitter recommended, hey, why don't you do one about the Super Mario World LUIGI Collab that just recently came out? And I thought, oh yeah, you know what? Actually, that would be cool because I would love to give it some more. Now that it hasn't gotten actually.
Of all those people, you thought of me.
Well, I mean, that would be. This is from let's see, DFTBA Vince on Twitter was the person who suggested we talk about this. So no, but Andrew was kind of the head honcho of this project and oversaw the production of it and everything. So I thought it would be appropriate to have him on.
I was the organizer of this thing.
Please.
which blew up. Which I'm happy it blew up. It's nice to bring attention to so many animators that have been a part of this for, Jesus, it's been over a year since I announced this thing.
Wait, has it been that long already?
Yeah, it's been more than a year.
Wow.
I think I announced this in probably August. I'm not too sure. The Tumblr post that I threw this out on is floating around there somewhere, and it has the original date on it. So it's yeah.
Well, before we get into talking about the collab itself, I thought what might be kind of fun is if we started talking a little bit about our history with this show, actually. Because I've done a few different Mario Kirblogs before, but I've actually never done one about any of the animated series. So I thought that actually kind of to double it up.
By the way,
oh, you did?
Sorry, I started to cut you off. It was July 10th.
Oh my God! Wait, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit! Wow. Okay. Well, we'll get into that too. Because I want to talk about the collab itself, of course. But
yeah, certainly.
So
let's talk about this show. This fun diddly dumb fun show,
which I love and adore very much. Actually, this is my favorite of the trifecta of Mario animated series back in the. Well, let's talk about all three of them in general.
You know,
what were your?
You know what's funny is that now that the more that I've grown, the more I've kind of appreciated these shows.
Yeah.
in the respect of just how weird they are. And because when they came out when I was a kid, I was so, oh God, I don't remember what age I was. I was probably like 10 when World came out or something like that, or probably Mario Brothers 3 when that came out. But yeah, it was like those shows. I was such a, I guess, a pain in the ass about what my entertainment should be when it's connected to a video game of all things.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Because I remember when the Mega Man show came out, and I was just awestruck at how very little connected to the actual games it was. And I was just like, I can't watch this, but I but I still kind of watched it just because of morbid curiosity.
Well, and also just because, oh, it's Mega Man. There's a Mega Man animated series. It's like,
Yeah,
I
but-
mean, you can look at a lot of these, and like, I mean, because even, you know, I've talked about on another one my experience with the fucking, you know, CGI Donkey Kong Country cartoon, which is absolute hot garbage. But I'm like, okay, but I can go back and watch that for like, you know, some mild entertainment and some nostalgia and like little tiny bits of like, oh, that was a funny joke or whatever. But like,
And now they're basically just meme fodder.
oh, I mean, dude, all of these shows, fucking every single one of these like 90s and I guess early 2000s too, technically, you know, video game based cartoons, like they're just, you know, and I want to even get into the YouTube poop stuff a little bit too. But.
The reason why I started this collab was because of how memey this episode is.
Of course, yeah.
Of all the episodes that I've seen of like, you know, YouTube poops and references and stuff like that, this episode probably has the most references.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I think when I thought about starting the collab, I was just like, oh, which one is the most? Immediately, it was Mama Luigi.
Of course, yeah. Like, what else would you do?
I could do the one where they all find what is it? They make rock TVs.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all controlled by Magic Koopas or something like that. It's
I'm partial to the egg burger episode where they all get turned into chicken sauruses or whatever the fuck that plot was. Well, in general, so there was the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, Mario 3, and then Super Mario World were the trifecta. Yeah. So I were they syndicated? Because I don't remember them being on like a specific channel. At the time.
I feel that originally I saw most of the shows on Fox.
Okay.
At least the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, I remember that being on Fox. And then Mario Brothers 3, I think, was actually Saturday mornings.
Okay.
And so was Mario World. And my guess would be that I saw them on ABC. I could be wrong, but
yeah, I do believe. I remember. I think I did see 3 on ABC at one point. Yeah, they were probably syndicated in a lot of different places. I would imagine.
Well, I mean, later on when they were syndicated, I think I saw them like on networks like USA or TNT or something like that.
Well, so the Super Show had like 8 billion fucking episodes. Like it went on for a long time. And
wait, the original?
Yeah, there were a lot of episodes, like a lot more episodes than I thought there were of the Super Show specifically. But 3 and World, I think they only had like a season each.
Probably. I think the Mario Brothers Super Show was actually more of a success because they did a lot more with it. I remember that we didn't have it here, but I think like in the Midwest they had like a Koopa, like a King Koopa.
Yes, that's right.
Special
yeah, it was the live action thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was with a guy in a Koopa suit, and I think that was I could be wrong, but it might have been what's the guy? He was the genie in the DuckTales movie.
Oh, Rip Torn?
Rip Torn. I think it was Rip Torn because it definitely sounded like him.
Oh my god!
I'm King Koopa. Whoa, all right, we're gonna go, kids. Yeah,
I'm a pirate.
He would. I think what was great is that I saw some clips of that, and he would just like totally rip into kids. Like he would just be like a jerk to them, but it would be like a playful jerkiness. Where it's just like, hey, kid, come over here. Yeah, go ahead, sit down, whatever. Anyway, we're going to do this show now.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. I did not have the... I think I remember reading that I think only broadcast in California. I could be wrong about that, but I've definitely seen like the intro and some fucking terrifying footage of it with the kids wearing the little Koopa Troopa
Well, he definitely
masks.
was frightening.
Yeah.
Fit.
As far as the Super Show goes, like in that case, well, okay, I want to say this to get this out of the way, with absolutely no disrespect to both now, sad to say, the late great Captain Lou Albano and Danny Wells, who both portrayed Mario and Luigi in that series,
were fantastic,
and who were fantastic. That said, I actually don't really like the Super Show that much. I actually found that later on, even as I was watching them, and still to this day, I actually like 3 and World in particular more than the Super Show, and World is definitely my favorite, I would say.
I like the thing about the Super Show is that I like the live action segments because they got such great people to be Mario and Luigi. Mario was oh gosh, you're gonna have to help me with names.
Captain Lou Albano was Mario, and Danny Wells was Luigi, and they also voiced them in the series as well for that specific series, and then
for that series, yes.
And then they were different in the Harvey Atkin. Harvey Atkin was the voice of King Koopa / Bowser in all 3 series, which, by the way, shout outs to him too. I did not know he passed away this summer. I was incredibly upset to find that out.
Yeah, when someone messaged me, probably like I think a month before the collab actually finished.
Yeah.
Letting me know about that, and I was just like, oh gosh, well, I guess we should put up another in memoriam.
In addition to Tony Rosato, who did
because it was already dedicated to Tony Rosato.
Who is also great. I love his performance, and also I mean, thankfully he's still with us. Walker Boone was the voice of Mario in 3 in World, and I still really like his interpretation a lot as well. For that time.
It's kind of funny because I know that the official voice is hello.
Of course, Charles Martinet is Mario and Luigi, of course. But
I do really like the Brooklyn interpretation of Mario and Luigi, just because it just seems so fitting. And while I do like Charles Martinet's like original take on it, it's like you gotta love the whole New Yorker. Brooklyn sort of take.
Yeah, especially for that era where, because I mean,
everyone was doing that. It's like, hey, it's me, Luigi. It's me, Mario. You want to get some pizza? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because it seemed like they like
pizza
specifically pasta. My favorite Punch-Out character. It seemed like they wanted to go, like, from the stories that I've heard of like interviews with Charles. Like, it seemed like they wanted to go in a different direction with his voice, like, going forward after the cartoons and after the live action movie, of course, because even Bob Hoskins' take was somewhat of that too.
What's great about the Charles Martinet Mario is that it's more of a mascot, and it's more cheery and inviting. And to say because you think of Mario, you think of like something like an icon like Mickey Mouse or something like that.
Yeah.
Where he's like very memorable, very recognizable, very iconic, and that kind of voice just seems so fitting. It's like the more high. I mean, I hate to compare it to Mickey Mouse, but you think about it, it's like, hi, I'm Mickey Mouse, and it's like, hello, it's me, Mario.
Yeah. Oh no, of course. Yeah. No, Nintendo's the Disney of video games. There's no denying that.
Yeah. It's just kind of interesting how it kind of worked out that way.
I'm trying to think of other specific. Well, I will say this too, just to kind of end the segment about watching the shows back in the day. If I'm remembering the timeline correctly, I think that I may have been watching the Mario World episodes on weekday morning. I cannot remember the channel for the life of me, but on weekday mornings at like 7 before I'd go to school, and I believe that was also right before the era of when Pokemon, the first season, the first like 60-something episodes of Pokemon were running in syndication.
Because it's the only other Nintendo thing at the time.
Well, because that would have been that first run of Pokemon in syndication, I think, was 97, if I'm remembering right. And then so I think that Mario World would have been, it would have been before that. So I used to wake up, and it was funny because it felt like it went for a while, and then I find out later, like, oh, it's only like 13 fucking episodes. Like, it wasn't even that long of a show.
It's kind of funny how, like, as kids, we were kind of tricked into thinking there was more than there really was.
I would get up and watch it every morning, and it something about, maybe also because World was my favorite of, like, the 2D Mario games. Like of all the original NES and SNES
well, you gotta
ones.
love the games.
Of course, yeah.
When Mario Brothers 3 came out, it was just like, I have to watch this show because I love Super Mario Brothers 3. And then it was I don't know, it was kind of one of those shows where it's like they keep going into the quote unquote real world.
Yeah.
So the Koopalings keep on going back and forth into where the Mushroom Kingdom is, and then and then they go into the real world, which is just kind of like broken New York.
Yeah, which I mean, and that's I sad to say
broken
too.
Blue sky New York.
yeah, beautiful blue skies somehow. No, it's funny because this still happens today, where it's like it's a TV show like that releases shortly.
It's a fantasy show, but we need to make it more grounded.
Well, no, not even that. It's specifically that, like, oh, a movie just came out based on this, IP, whether it's a comic or a video game or a cartoon or whatever, and then we're going to do a new TV series that is based on that original source material, but also we're going to place it a little bit into the semblance of what the movie was doing. Like, a lot of the Marvel animated series that are on TV right now that some of our friends work on. A lot of them, like, of course, they release, in tandem with, oh, that movie just came out, like that specific Marvel superhero movie just came out, so now here's a TV series based on that, and it's like semi its own continuity and semi like using stuff from the source material, but also like, oh, but we have to use tropes and like Rocket Raccoon now has the what's his face? It's he's not British anymore. He's got the New York accent, like the guy who plays him in the movie. I forget the name of the actor, but so with the Mario shows, it seemed like also the like real world thing was like tied back to the movie, where it's like, oh yeah, they're from the real world, but then they go to like the Mushroom Kingdom / Dinosaur World / Dennis Hopper's fucking evil city land.
I always thought it was just the concept of like, well, Mario and Luigi are just like regular everyday people, and then they just got transferred into the Mushroom Kingdom, which is like a different world altogether. And that was like a thing since the first show, and I don't think it was exclusive to the movie. I think the movie just kind of borrowed that from everything else. So it was really more just that was the theme. It's like Mario and Luigi are real people, and they just got thrown into this mystical, magical fantasy land, which may or may not be in their heads. But it's just one of those things that I think just stuck with the media interpretations of the video game. And now it's just kind of like, well, Mario's just a part of the Mushroom Kingdom. And it's just like,
yeah, no, actually, it's funny because even with Odyssey coming out really soon, not that. Well, hear me out, because like not that Mario like the series has ever been like a big stickler for like amazing continuity and world building. I mean, like, for fuck's sake, every other game, like the things that exist around the vicinity of Princess Peach's castle, the geography fucking changes every other game. That said, like, a big question that was answered is like, oh, New Donk City is the city that Mario saved from Donkey Kong, in 1980, whatever the fuck. And like, at the time, it always seemed like I guess I don't want to say like the fandom, but like people were like, oh yeah, like that was part of the real world in the Mushroom Kingdom, just like how the like Mario and Luigi Mario thing, like that was from the movie, but like people just kind of accepted that as like, oh yeah, that's like what the story is with them, and it's like, well, but I guess otherwise,
I think what's great just about the Mario series in general is that the interpretation is open to whatever.
Yeah. They're very loose.
And I think honestly, any explanation will just kind of ruin whatever fantasy there is to the series, because if you start explaining things like, oh, Mario is, he was born of a star in the sky that just landed on this Mushroom Kingdom, and then which is somehow crossbred with New York or something.
Is this a fucking fan fiction I'm going through right now? What?
But I mean, like, that's the kind of thing that you would, the kind of explanations that you would kind of expect a game company to make for something like that, just to kind of appease people, instead of just kind of like going like, well, this just. It is
just
what
a
it
guy.
is.
Well, I do love. I was talking to Casey about this when we were doing the 64 WebTwa stream, but like how Miyamoto's always kind of like envisioned the cast of the Mario series as like it coming back from that sort of Popeye-esque old cartoon inspiration of like they're like a troupe of performers and they just kind of do whatever. So one day, Mario's rescuing the princess from Bowser, and then another day they're all fucking racing go-karts together, and it's just whatever.
Yeah. They're just kind of like, they're actors, and it's kind of like the Muppets. They're all actors, but they're still doing their thing.
Yeah. Well, any other before we move on to the next part? Any other like I guess memories of like specific episodes or scenes or things from back in the day of like when you were watching the show?
Oh my God. I mean, I guess what continuously gets into my mind is the Milli Vanilli episode of the Super Mario Brothers 3. It's just like, of all the guest stars you can have, Milli Vanilli. I mean, I think there was other guests on that show, but Milli Vanilli specifically, it's like, I think that episode came out the moment that people found out they were frauds. Because I just can't I can't get that vision of Peach in like this very very early 90s outfit that said Milli Vanilli on it. It's like, hey, we're gonna go to a concert, yeah. And then Mario and Luigi are like in suits and they're going to this concert, and I don't think Milli Vanilli was voiced by them because they're, you know, they I don't really think they had. I don't think they were able to voice their own characters because they didn't even sing their own songs.
Yeah, well, and also I think they recorded all of those in Toronto anyway, so that would have been like a whole fucking to do.
So they just kind of sounded like this.
Yeah. Was that like in the same block of the episode where like I think Luigi and one of the kings gets turned into like a fucking dog or something? And they look really weird.
I'm sure.
That's a 3 episode that sticks in my mind.
There was like a giant episode. I remember that with like this loud, annoying parrot.
Fucking, oh god. I remember. There's a great one, which actually one of the animators on our collab did. The one where Wendy Okupa / Cootie Pie in the show. Sings fucking "Girls Just Want to Have Fun."
Oh God, yeah, that's right.
And she was any MLP fans out there. She was voiced by Tabitha St. Germain, who was the voice of Rarity, and like countless others on My Little Pony. She did Wendy, and
I think that's another thing we should probably point out is that every episode from Mario Brothers 3 to World had these weird songs in them.
Yeah, which we have one in our episode too. Yeah.
Yeah, which because I think it was like I think it's supposed to be the Koopalings singing it.
It's definitely their actors because like that the guy that did the one that I'm looking for you, that was the guy who did Morton / what was he called, Big Mouth or something, I think, in the show. Yeah.
Their names were also different from the actual,
which was apparently because they weren't named yet. While the game was being made, and which that is such a bizarre thing to happen back then.
I'm honestly not surprised because I think that's like how the Sonic Saturday show came out. Yeah, Sat AM. I think that show, that's like a lot of the characters were connected to the Archie comics.
No, actually, you know what?
Was it the Archie comics that were trying to connect to the show?
Yeah, I believe that the show was conceived first. I mean, that's a whole nother topic. But yeah,
it's funny because like I'm working with someone right now who worked on the Super Show, and he was telling me like how little knowledge they had about the show.
Yeah.
It is. And they just had to run with whatever. That's why the show is like always somewhere else. Like, oh, we do a space episode, and now we're doing like a Mad Max type episode.
Well, even like you were talking about this earlier, where like you admitted that you were kind of like snooty about like video game adaptation things. Like I knew a lot of people that were really pissy about every single one of the Sonic series. Everything from the 3 American ones to Sonic X. Excuse me. And I think about like, we've talked about this, you and I, just in other conversations previously, but like where, they had people like, I think Ben Hurst was one of the guys that worked on, he's passed away, but he worked on Sonic, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic Sat AM, and he worked on like Tiny Toons and a bunch of stuff. These were just guys that were like cartoonists and animation people, and they didn't...
These were folks that worked in animation for the longest time already. They were doing Saturday morning cartoons before video games were invented.
or video games were even really like a mainstream enough thing to warrant
Yeah,
getting
right,
animated
right.
series based off of like each of them. Because before that, there was what, like
Some
fucking
I
Saturday
think
Supercade or whatever, where it's just like an
yeah, the
amalgamation of
Saturday
shit.
Supercade, like that was like a oh oh gosh, I can't remember. It wasn't not Funimation.
Filmation?
Filmation.
Yeah.
I don't think they were involved, but maybe it was Ruby Spears or something like that.
Oh, you know what? I think
But yeah,
that I think that
did.
was Ruby Spears. Yeah.
There was like Qbert and Donkey Kong, and
Frogger.
those are shows that you don't really necessarily hear a lot about. And the Pac-Man show, which was done by Hanna-Barbera.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So there
Um,
were video game shows around. It was just like they weren't. We don't really know them as much now as they were known then.
well, and also
You know,
just it was just
like,
different.
These shows are basically made because of what is popular at the time. So you're if Mario was like such a big thing, it's like of course it's going to get a TV show.
It's just interesting because like compared to now, where it's like I don't think Nintendo would ever want to do like a Mario, like animated like thing, like a short film or a movie or a series.
Not unless they got like a lot more involved in it, because when they were letting these shows be made, they were just like, okay, here's our property, now do whatever you want with them.
Which is in like now it's like that's a very
It's both a
un-Nintendo
blessing.
thing.
It's both a blessing and a curse to have the ability to do something like that, where it's just like, but it's also like a crapshoot. It's like you don't know if the people are knowledgeable enough about the property to kind of work with it, and to be honest, like they did as best as they could with what was given to them.
Well, kind of ironically on that note, with what we did, and this is not to be like up our own asses or whatever, but it's like now you collected several hundred people that I would, I don't know, maybe there's a couple people that like don't know like a massive amount about Mario, but I would bet good money that like the majority of the people that worked on this project that you put together are
we all
probably
grew up with this stuff.
very knowledgeable of Mario and all like had some kind of like funny love and care and weird shit just put into it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess also, and then one last quick little thing about kind of like the like what we did is also just the stuff regarding like the advent of the Mama Luigi episode, where I want to give a little bit of a shout out. He was sadly not available to work on the collab, but we did reach out to him. The original Mama Luigi YouTube poop that kind of like really fucking got massively big and like kind of brought I guess the Mario World cartoon in general back into like people's thoughts, I guess. Was made by a guy named Simon McClure. Mr. Simon Alt, I'm never doing that again. He made that video like God, probably over 10 years ago by now on YouTube, early days of that. And he was also one of the earliest YouTube poop guys. And just
can I just like give you this scenario for a minute? I mean,
sure.
The fact that we're reminiscing 10 years ago about YouTube poops. This is I mean, like, there's sometimes we give the guff to these animation historians who talk about cartoons from like the 30s and everything, and we go back like about 10-15 years and talk about people making memes out of old cartoons.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, for fuck's sake, it's like we talked first 20 years ago when the show was out, and then we talked 10 years ago when the show came back in the form of this weird avant-garde. I think Mike Rocco words, this is not to be insulting. I think that this is a perfectly reasonable description. Michael Rocco, he worked on the collab as well. He words YouTube poops as like an internet video equivalent of like making a funny face at a baby to make them giggle, which I think is like, it's pretty astute, I would say.
Right.
But
description.
yeah, but I remember.
But at the same time, it's like I have to commend people like that for bringing these cartoons back in a way where it's like it brings them. I guess it brings more of a spotlight to them, where it's just like, oh yeah, I remember that. It was a weird cartoon, but my God, the things that people are doing with it now is hilarious.
Yeah. And God, I just remember like, late high school when like, YouTube poop as like a thing that existed in general. Like that was just like every fucking day. Like me and Mike and Zach Bellissimo and a lot of our friends, like we would just be fucking scouring looking for those and like so stupid. And then like now we look back and then Boggle another. Fucking,
Mario nuggets of gold within the piles.
I would say Mario World, specifically Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, King of the Hill, and believe it or not, Aladdin, were the four pieces of the quadriforce of YouTube poops that really persisted. Anyway, that aside, Andros, Tito, Dick, that's Dickman, baby.
Uncle Andros.
And my enemy. So what kind of, I mean, of course, there's been many of these animation collabs where, of course, you take an episode of a series and then you split up each individual shot and have them dispersed between everybody. That's been going on for a good while. There's been mostly for anime.
Well, the thing that got me really interested in it is that I think the first collab that I heard of was the Sailor Moon collab. Yeah. And I found out about that when it was finished. And then I heard that someone was doing a Dragon Ball episode. And I wanted to be a part of that, so I got in touch with the guy who was involved. Oh, gosh, I can't remember his name. But I did one scene on that one. And if I remember correctly, that one took a while as well. I think it was like probably 5 or 6 months after I finished my scene where it actually was released. But that was like a lot of fun. And I was just thinking to myself, like, you know what? Yeah, I could do one of these. I'm gonna do it. You just watch and see. I'll try my hand. And I just figured I'd write something up, and I actually asked Mike, I was like, if I did one of these things, what episode do you think I would do? And he came back at me and was like, oh, you got to do the Mama Luigi one.
You got to do it. Like that episode has like no smears to it, but it's still really fucking funny. Here's what happened. I love you, Michael.
But yeah, it was just one of those things where I was just like, this is a perfect episode to try and reanimate. Especially the fact that there's so many memorable things about it. I've seen it so many times online already in clip form, and people have done so many weird things. Like oh gosh, I'm trying to remember specific videos, but it's kind of like what they would do with the Bee movie. Where it's like every time they say Bee, it's like sped up a little. Yeah. And there was stuff like that around, and most of those videos are down now because either the channels have been removed or the people got copyright strikes on them. This actually got a copyright strike on it, even though it wasn't. I didn't have the monetization on, but I explained it was a DHX Media who was kind enough to release the copyright claim. Oh, cool. Because I explained to them, it's like this is 100% new content. All the animation has been done, like completely redone, and we're just using the audio to kind of show off this, completely new animated thing. So there's no, I mean, it's completely fair use. There's nothing from the show itself outside of the audio, but yeah, they were nice enough to release the copyright, and I think that was pretty neat.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I got to say, actually, and in fact, I'm even going to look it up real quick. This was kind of cool for me in particular because this was my first foray into live streaming. And in fact, actually, this is so crazy. Okay, so
because you were live streaming your scenes, right?
So this is going to be coming out, this video, on Tuesday the 5th, but we're recording on September 3rd. Which it was 1 whole year ago, September 3rd, 2016, that I streamed for the first time on my YouTube channel for over 6.5 hours.
Oh my God.
I streamed working on my entire first segment of 2 that I did. It was the shot of when Luigi falls down and there's a bunch of little question mark blocks, and I'll link to it at the end. But where Yoshi's like, Luigi bash blocks now. All right, wise guys. So what happened next? And then you just hear Yoshi laughing, and then that was my bit. And then I had like Casey and Mac and Edwin and a whole bunch of people joined in, and it was a whole fucking party. I played lots of music and stuff. It was really fun, and now like I've with kind of kicking off from that, I've really gotten to enjoy doing drawing streams, which I was also going to say, kind of in tandem with this too, I would love to run a collab like this someday. I thought very, very long and hard about doing one of a Dragon Ball Z episode in particular, because nobody had gotten the bright idea to do that yet. But I'm sure somebody eventually will beat me to the punch on it. Just, you know. But I really wanted to, and with this stuff with the Tome game coming up, I know that I wouldn't. But I am happy to say that I'm going to have a lot of time to do drawing streams. And that first taste I got with that massive 6.5 hour one that I did for this project was really cool. And I had so much fun doing that. I really enjoy getting to do that a lot. And then even when some folks were I guess dragging their feet after a while, I offered to do a second one, and then that was for about 3 hours. I did the shot with one of the shots of baby Yoshi eating the Mecha Koopas while Mario and Luigi look on in horror.
I think that was great that some of the animators did stream their work. I know that Pika did. And he also did 2 scenes. He was nice enough to do 2 of them when we were under a crunch. I like that. I like that all the artists were able to just show off their work after it was done. You know, just their scenes, because it not only brought to light their work on this thing, it also kind of like helped bring notification that, you know, I was organizing this thing. So I got some more artists off of them to help out on this, which was great, because the more the merrier. The unfortunate thing is that some people dropped out, some people weren't able to do it. And, you know, it's understandable. It's like everyone's, you know, they have their own thing and they have their things get busy. And this is just like a stupid little thing that is just for fun. And for me, it's more of a thing that I want to showcase everyone's work on this, because there are so many great artists and animators out there. It's just kind of like, I like it when, you know, we can all get together and do this one thing, and the end result is just like this spectacular mishmash of weirdness. So yeah, and some folks did 2 scenes. You know, some people, after their scene was done, they asked like, "Hey, I'd like to do another one if I can." And I wanted to keep it diverse. I wanted to give other people a chance before I decided to give other people like a second scene. Like you, it's like, I think you asked for a second scene like a couple months afterwards. And I said, like, well, we'll wait it out and see. And then eventually it's like, okay, how about I just give you this scene, because, you know, someone else couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to give everyone a second scene. So, you know, I was trying to be as fair as possible with this. One thing that I did learn from organizing this is that if I ever do another one, I need to make sure that if there's a scene that is cut in like a second or less, then I should probably just add that to the scene next to it. Because I felt so bad that I gave some people a scene that wasn't even a second long.
Yeah.
And it's like, this episode is cut so oddly in a lot of places, where it was just like, I realized this was edited very poorly. Yeah.
You know, you remind me, when I was thinking about possibly doing a Dragon Ball one, or a Dragon Ball Z one, I should specify. I was looking at what episode to go through, and I was like, God, there's a lot of shots of just like, here's a still drawing, here's a still drawing, and there's no movement. It's just a shot of them for like 2 seconds. And I thought, you know, it would be interesting maybe like to divvy some of those up to like illustrators and just like do a drawing, just like do a single drawing. I'll just hold on it for 2 seconds or whatever.
But I mean, even then, it's like I like to think that giving something like that to an animator kind of challenges them
Yeah.
in a way where it's like, here's a still shot. I mean, this scene has a still shot, but I know you can do something weird with this. I know that you can make it like make something happen and like make some weird faces or have some things floating up around in the background. And I was proven that with this episode specifically because like there were some scenes where I was thinking like, gosh, I really hope that this is okay for them, and I hope they can work with this. And the results that came back were just like, oh wow, this is really creative. And some of it was really weird. One specifically was like of the dome, like the opening shot.
Oh
like,
yeah, with the creepy guy.
The dome, and then there's and it's a bald guy just floating up from whatever, and it's just like, okay, that was weird, but that's really creative. I love stuff like that. And the opening, I like the opening shot where it was originally where the title of the show was supposed to be there, but it's just the establishing shot of the Mushroom Kingdom at nighttime, or a dinosaur world at nighttime. It's not the Mushroom Kingdom in this.
Dinosaur world.
Dinosaur world. And that was a very beautiful shot, and he also animated some like fireflies in there, and I thought that was really neat. I was completely blown away by the results of a lot of scenes. I just really think there was so much creative talent, so many. I mean, people can do some great stuff with very little. You know what I mean? It's like you give them something, you give them a task, and you let them be creative with it, and they bring back something that just kind of like this both meets and exceeds my expectations.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, from me to everyone, I really, really love each and every one of your efforts. It was such a fantastic thing to do. And I do apologize to the folks who were given very little. Just for the fact that I wanted to keep it consistent. But if I ever do something else like this again, I'll try to keep the very short, not even short scenes, just like minimalist scenes to try to add them along to
something else, just to
something else, just to keep it consistent.
Yeah. Well, the other kind of beautiful thing about the whole final product is like I was watching it with Casey was over at the time, and I think I had told her about it, but she hadn't like gotten to see any of the bits other than what I had made, and like you go like from like one end to the other like immediately with it's like, oh wow, that animation was beautiful, to like something that either whether it would like be like gorgeously animated or otherwise, but like even if it was like kind of like I don't want to say bad looking, but like not massively high quality looking, but like it would still be really funny in like the way that it was executed. So like it just like I kept getting like, whoa, that's amazing. Oh my god, that's so fucking funny. Whoa, that looks awesome. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Like every other second.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much thrown at you at once. It's a real trip.
I mean, for fuck's sake, Mike Lucas's shot was with fucking literal stick figures that he put on like wooden sticks and moved.
And I was there to help him record that.
I was supposed to do that, and he didn't call me. So congratulations, you shit. Carry on. Sorry.
But I think what was also great is that showing someone who originally worked on the show. It was so funny, like hearing it was just, he was telling me like people don't really realize how cheap Deke was.
Oh yeah,
when they were making these shows, and really they were just working with what they had, and to see it all again, but with all these different, you realize like how many people have different styles and different takes and interpretations, and methods to their madness. They have like they have their way of animating something, and it really shows off in each and every scene. It's like when you move on to one scene, you realize this is how this person's style works. And then in the next one, you realize this is completely different from the other one, but in their own interpretation of it. And I think that's just, I mean, I can't I can't say enough great things about all the animation that was done for this. It's fun to look at. It's fun to see this all come into fruition. And I was just like, a lot of these people really just blew me away with what they could perform. And some folks, like, I even know working with, Aaron and Greg Lasons, and there were a couple people that I worked with at the studio who were also a part of this, and I really got to see some of the stuff that they were able to do outside of like storyboarding and all that, and it really turned out great. I was, it was fun to both see people do what they do and then seeing the reaction from the people who originally were a part of the show, and they just were laughing their asses off about it.
There's actually one. I was thinking about this a little while ago. I think this would kind of be a good note to sort of start to wrap things up on. Something that was really cool about this that gave me flashbacks, maybe without my even realizing it until now. But when I did the Nintendo collabs back in the day, which I managed, and then even when I was part of other collabs on Newgrounds, like the Metal Gear one and things like that. Some Sprite collabs and things. That was always really cool because it really helped with like, as much shit as like Newgrounds get, not to go on that tangent, but like, when there's a community of people that all like really like to work together and like collab on something, bigger than the sum of their parts, and especially for the sake of like, oh, like, hey, plugging the work of these other people and showing like how good they are, like when other people may not have heard of them otherwise, to give people a platform to show what they can do. Because when just stuff with video games and pre-existing material is always an easy way to get people's attention.
Right.
But like back then also when you could do you could split like ad revenue and things with people like on when you would submit something on the Flash portal. And when people over the years would ask me like, oh, like would you ever want to do like a Nintendo like GameCube or something like a fourth one or any future ones? And I'm like, well, I feel like there's not, because later I was like, well, there's not much point anymore, because what happened was after a while people would just do like, if they wanted to make a cartoon about whatever Nintendo game was hot, and they would do a little like something that would be kind of like an equivalent of a vignette from the Nintendo collabs, like a little 1 or 2 minute sketch. It's like they would just fucking do it, and then they would just put it on their own channel, and it's done.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, there's not really much point anymore, and like on YouTube, there's not much of a place for that. But with projects like these, where like these kind of reanimation collabs. Like I feel that that's kind of the perfect evolution of that sort of collaborative effort when it comes to a lot of different animators that want to work together. And this in particular, because this is just such a sleeper hit with like its notoriety on the internet. It's very fitting in that way, which I think is really cool. So
yeah. I really just. My original intention was more of originally it was just kind of like, oh, this would be a lot of fun, and then it just kind of turned into something where it's like, I really think this would be nice to just kind of showcase people's work, because I'm really all about, I really like to, I just really admire a lot of people's artwork and what they can do outside of what I can do, when you think about it, we're all kind of in this together, because having worked on studio after studio, production after production, being part of a team is just really kind of eye-opening. And that is, it's not just all about you and what you can do. It's about what people can do as a team. And when you get like a bunch of different artists and together, like a bunch of different like they're not so much like-minded, but they're all working for one goal. It really is it's a great effort to see this, and you sometimes take those credits at the end of cartoons for granted, because it's like we all know something is created by someone, but there's a lot of people behind it as well who have also done this sort of thing along with them. So, I just like to bring that attention a little bit more, to light, then it's just like because for me it's like I just organized this and I posted it on my YouTube channel. I don't feel like I've earned any of these subscriptions.
Well, did you also do an anime? I know that you did the end tag.
The only thing I did was the end Deke logo, which went by faster than I thought.
Which I will say though, good on you for making that obvious joke at your own expense. You have my absolute respect for that.
I think it was just kind of obvious, and I also was like very tempted to put like a different sound effect at the end, but I was just like, keep it Deke. Well, it's like, okay. This might be weird. I remember this game show blooper where it was brought around, and it's just like I think it was like the match game or something, and this was like in the 70s. But it's the clip of where the host asks one of the contestants like, give us another name for a policeman. And the guy just like slams onto the desk and goes like, Dick! And I wanted to use that sound clip over Deke. But I thought like, nah, I think I'll leave it alone. People will understand it enough.
That's fucking insane. Oh my God. I guess any other last comments you got about the project in general, or
Well, I know a lot of people are asking me to do another collab, and right now I'm just I'm overwhelmed by the response of this, and I'm really happy that this has gotten a lot of traction, because again it's spotlighting the artist involved, and I'm really happy that this has become what it is. I thought it was just like a little fun thing that that I was just going to post after it was finished, but it really grew into something bigger, and I'm happy about that. And I know people have asked me what's the next collab, and I think I'm going to take a break.
Yeah,
because while I did learn a lot of stuff on how to better organize things, I think as much as I'd love to do another one, it's probably not going to be for a while.
Well, maybe we'll team up on the Dragon Ball Z one. Maybe we'll make that a joint effort to make each other's lives easier. I would be down for that.
Yeah.
I will also recommend, by the way, anybody listening. Of course, I'll have a link to the video at the end for an adaptation. But also, please, I highly recommend in the video description of the full project upload is a link to a Google Doc spreadsheet of all of the different animators who worked on this, and you can check out all their individual work on there.
There's also, you should probably also put the link of the Newgrounds version,
yes.
which is a lower, not quite lower quality, because I couldn't fit a huger file into the Newgrounds post, but there is a version where each individual's credit is posted on their scene while it's playing.
Yes.
But
sadly, YouTube took away annotations, so not so much on that. But
yeah, and I found out about that afterwards. Like someone told me, like, oh yeah, they took out annotations in May. I was like, what? And then I looked and it's like, oh, but it's still there. The button is still there.
Hey, by the way, total side note, you and Bam McKeck, our friend who worked on the collab too, you guys need to stop drawing Daisy so hot, for fuck's sake. Anyway.
That came completely out of left field. When she drew that, I was like, whoa.
No, I saw your painting of her on the fucking end tag. I know what you did. I saw what you did. Anyway. Well, Andrew, thanks for, this is very last second. Thank you for making the time to come on. This was awesome.
Hey, no problem. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to plug any of your stuff as well?
Well, of course, if you want, you can subscribe to my channel. I'm hoping in the future I can start doing some more animated stuff, just for the hell of it. I'm still working on some projects right now. But yeah, if you want, go to Electronic Heroes. That is my main YouTube channel. I'm also on Twitter, which is where I mainly post any of my musings. That's AWD Twit, AWDTWIT. So if you want to catch me there, you can. And thank you so much for everyone who enjoyed this. I really appreciate it, and on behalf of all the artists involved, I'm sure they're very happy and pleased with how successful this was as well. So, yeah.
So, well, that's going to wrap us up. So, everybody in the comments below, well, first of all, if you've not already checked out the video, please do yourself a favor and watch the Mama Luigi Super Mario World Re-Animate collab.
Oh, I have to say, one of the highlights of my year was when Vinesauce Vinny posted a comment under the video, and he also talked about it during one of his streams.
Oh, nice!
That was like one of the highlights of my life, because yeah, Vinny is like one of my favorite streamers out there, and seeing him enjoy this was just a treat. So, yeah, shout out to Vinny.
Yeah, no, Vinny's awesome, very cool. Yeah, I just saw his. It's beautiful. Thank you for making this a reality and for damaging my retinas. That's the best. My god. Please check out the video if you haven't already. I mean, if you've listened for a fucking hour, you must have. But tell us your favorite parts. If you have any fond memories of watching the show originally or this episode in general, let us know. And I think this upcoming weekend, Casey and I on Waptois, our next stream, will be playing Mario Maker. So look forward to that. And then I think next week I'll probably rope Casey and Ben Diskin together to do a fucking Death Note Netflix movie Kirblog, because, you know, can't torture them enough. So sorry, guys. Andrew, have you seen that? Have you seen that shit yet?
No, I haven't, but I heard that the same guy who made that is doing a Mega Man movie.
No. That's the Castlevania guy.
Oh, no. The guy, I'm trying to remember his name. Who is the guy who directed it? Oh my gosh, now I'm losing it. Is it Masayori Oka?
I don't know. Maybe.
But yeah, he's talking about doing a Mega Man movie with 20th Century Fox.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, leave your comments about what Mega Man X really. Actually, I would love to do a Mega Man X Kirblog at some point. That'd be cool. In the comments, either way, blah blah blah. You get it. Anyway, that's it. We'll see you all next time. And that's Mumble because YouTube, it's where the poop is.